Hi there and welcome back to The Single Cook. My name is Tiffany and I'm your host. It's been a couple of weeks since I've posted a video and today I thought I would make one of my favorite meals. I'm going to be making a full-size meal so it can feed 4 to 6 people. I plan on sharing with my neighbor or just using it for leftovers, so it's going to be a bigger dish today. So the dish that I'm making today is actually called Mrs. Schermer's Chicken and Rice. I have no idea who Mrs. Schermer is, but it's one of the first recipes that I can remember my mother teaching me. So there is no measurements, there is just instructions. So let's go over the ingredients and what we're going to need to make it so that we can get into the video. So the first thing I'm going to need is a 9x13 glass casserole. I'm also going to need my chicken of choice. Now this is a whole chicken that my neighbor brought me the other day, which is why I plan on sharing with him. If this is bone in, you can absolutely use bone out. You can use drumsticks. You can use chicken tenders. It is completely up to you, whatever kind of chicken you choose. You can chunk it up. You can leave it whole. I'm going to be using whole pieces. You're going to need a box of instant rice. You'll need a bottle of Zia's fat-free sweet Italian dressing. You can make this with other Italian dressings, but it will not taste the same. And it's something that we have discovered over trial and error that it really does need to be the Zia's. I don't know why, but it does make a difference on this one. You're going to need a vegetable, either frozen or fresh. I'm choosing fresh broccoli because that's what I had. My mother would make it with bags of mixed vegetables, California medley. She would use a bag of frozen broccoli. It is completely up to you, but I am choosing fresh broccoli today. You're going to need French fried onions. I don't have enough for my taste today, but I'm going to work with what I've got. Usually we use a can and we use the entire can for this meal, so half the can will go in at one point, half the can will go in at the other. But I'm just going to use this at the end because I only have enough for the end. You're going to need some seasoning. So you're going to need some garlic powder, you're going to need some oregano, and I'm going to be using onion powder because I don't have the other half of that French fried onions, but you can absolutely leave any of these out. I'm also going to be using some chicken ramen seasoning that I have de-packetified over the years, or over the months rather. My mother used chicken bouillon, but she had it in powder form and I only have it in cube form. So I'm going to be using this instead, but it will give me the same deal and it will allow me to not use salt. So I'm going to be using chicken ramen seasoning as well. And then you'll need water. I don't know how much water because it's just an instruction and you'll see when we get into the cooking. So those are our ingredients. We're going to start assembling this and let's get started. We have our 9x13 glass pan and I'm going to be putting a box of instant rice in it. I'm going to use the entire box. You can absolutely spray beforehand. I opted not to. To that, I'm going to add enough water to make it soupy, but not enough that there is water resting above the rice. So I'm testing with my finger to see how soupy it is before adding some more. And all of that liquid will be absorbed by the rice as it cooks. So that's about the right consistency. Okay, we're going to add our garlic powder. And I'm just measuring it with my heart, but it's probably about a teaspoon. We've got our onion powder. And our oregano. And then I'm going to be using that chicken ramen seasoning. These are just from the packets of ramen. I tend to make my own broth, so I've been saving the seasoning packets for things like this, to use in place of bouillon and salt. This is also where I would be adding that half a can of French fried onions, but I didn't have any today. Give that a little mix, and I'm just using my finger again. This is just for me anyway. Okay, and we're going to start adding our chicken. Now this is bone-in chicken that I cut up from a whole chicken and have removed the skin from. I do recommend removing the skin from your chicken. we're just going to place them all over the pan, trying to get it evenly spread. But these were some big pieces. Okay, all of our pieces are in. Just making sure they're all placed and not sticking together, and we're going to wash our hands anytime we touch raw chicken. Okay, now we're going to top that with the entire bottle of Zia's fat-free sweet Italian dressing. It's going to seem like a lot of liquid, but that rice will absorb it, and so will the chicken. Okay, we're going to cover that with foil and bake at 400 for 30 to 40 minutes, depending on if it's bone in or not. Okay, it's been about 35 minutes, so I'm going to lift my foil, and I'm going to add that broccoli. I'm using fresh broccoli. You can absolutely use frozen. You can use frozen California medley. It is entirely up to you. Spread that evenly around as much as possible. Okay, and we're going to recover that with foil so that our broccoli doesn't burn in the oven, but just loosely, not super tight or anything. We don't want it to stick to the foil. And we're going to bake it back in the oven for another 20 to 25 minutes. Okay, it's done in the oven. We're going to do our final step here, and that is adding the French fried onions right on top. Now this ideally would be the other half of the can, but I only had about a half a cup of French fried onions. So I'm doing the best I can with it, just enough to give it that little bit of crunch at the end and that hit of the onion flavor. So try and spread that as evenly as possible. And then it'll go back in the oven for 5 to 10 more minutes uncovered. And that is our final dish. We're going to plate that up, and it was a tasty meal. And there you have it, Mrs. Schermer's chicken and rice. And that is our video for tonight. So we took that chicken that my neighbor gave me and some pantry staples like the instant rice and some seasonings, a couple of specialty items like the Zia's Italian dressing, and I used the fresh broccoli, but you could absolutely use frozen, to create Mrs. Schermer's chicken and rice, whoever Mrs. Schermer is. It's one of my favorite dishes, and I absolutely love it. So after dinner tonight, I will definitely be having it for leftovers. So thank you for watching. Thank you for liking and subscribing. We'll see you next time on The Single Cook.